Now, for the past 15 years, we've been saying that the Audi R8 is perhaps the most approachable, most everyday mid-engine supercar money can buy. Even in this 612 brake horsepower brand new performance variant that's just launched, you still very happily drive it down to Tesco. But has Audi's approachable formula perhaps made the supercar a bit, well, boring? Well, considering the weather's becoming decidedly quattro and we've got a test track at our disposal, I thought we'd find out. Audi has actually recently facelifted the R8 range, and that's why you'll find this car has got a new front profile. It's got a much lower, wider grille to it, elements that are reminiscent of the original Quattro. There's the obligatory addition of various fins, and the R8 Plus model was now actually transformed into what we now call R8 Performance. Now, you can pick out these performance cars by their 20-inch diamond cut alloy wheels and the ceramic brakes that sit behind them, the darkened side blades that have been an R8 signature from day one, more aggressive rear profiling, and of course that large carbon fibre wing at the rear. The interior of the car also gets a brand new set of leather upholstered bucket seats. It might not be the showiest of supercars, but there's certainly a distilled aggression to the R8. Now, one of the R8's signature party tricks has always been the fact that it's reasonably practical for a supercar, and as I said earlier, you can genuinely take it to the supermarket. Look, I've been shopping, I've got things like a pineapple, some grapes, an apple, and you know, various other fruit. I'll stop that now to stop this turning into an episode of Supermarket Sweep, but I think you get what I'm talking about. But we're not here to find out how practical the R8 is, we're here to find out whether it really can singe your synapses when out there on a circuit. Well, as you can probably see, the heavens have well and truly opened, and I don't know whether Audi have paid off the weathermen for this, but this really paints the Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system in the most positive of lights. Because whilst other supercars are being coddled and cared for in their heated garages and, ooh, do you need a trickle charge? This Audi R8 is out here on the circuit earning its keep. The fact that it has all-wheel drive makes it incredibly capable in just about all weathers. If you've driven anything like an Audi RS3, you'll know that Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system really is something special. Its ability to shuffle power around, in this case up to 30% of torque heading to the front wheels, just enables it to pull itself through corners and provide just a hugely confidence-inspiring level of stability. Bear in mind, this car has 612 brake horsepower. That's a lot of power. And in something like a 720S round here, in these conditions where there's standing water, there's a considerable amount of grit and dirt at the edge of the circuit, yeah, you need something you've got some confidence in. But that's not exactly new information, is it? We always knew that the Audi R8 was the most usable of supercars, the most all-weather of mid-engine machines. How fun is it actually to drive? Well, today, I can tell you I'm certainly having more fun than I would do in any of its counterparts, basically because I can exploit the performance. In any other car, you'd be a bit nervous, you'd be a bit ginger, but I know that whilst the car is moving around a bit beneath me, it's predictable. And by having a stable platform, it allows me to use the performance that's on offer. And then there's that engine. Let's talk about that engine for a minute, actually, because it's sort of the crown jewel of this vehicle. 5.2 litre, naturally aspirated V10, and combined with the all-wheel drive system, we'll get this car from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 3.1 seconds and onto a top speed of 205 miles per hour. I mean, if you were thinking that this is just some sort of heavily polished Audi TT, well, you're very misinformed. It's a serious supercar. Now, a bit like the T-Rex and the Dodo, the V10 is something of a dying breed, and that is a crying shame. It's such a unique engine. It provides you with something so different to all of the turbocharged rivals that are on offer. Firstly, as I've mentioned, being naturally aspirated means that it's got this lovely linear long-leggedness to it. that builds and builds and builds for a big crescendo up at 8,500 RPM. And then of course you've got the noise, which it is absolutely orgasmic. It's just the most incredible sound. A V10 howl is so distinctive, and it's just something that makes this car. It really is the beating heart of the machine. It's what gives it its character. Now, it shares this engine with the Lamborghini Huracan, of which obviously Lamborghini do their own series of fettling to as well, but my goodness, for this car to have this engine at its disposal, I think is probably right up there with one of the top selling points of the vehicle. There's a good reason why they don't make a V8 engine of these anymore. It's because nobody was buying them. Everyone wants that unique V10 crescendo. It's just such a unique and different sound to anything else. It's not 8 cylinders, it's not 12, as delicious as a 12 is. It's a shrieking V10. Oh, it is utterly, utterly addictive. Now, this performance model is fitted with a set of carbon ceramic brakes, and yeah, once you get a bit of temperature in them, you can really have a lot of faith in them. There's a nice firm bite to the pedal. The car can really put the anchors on when it needs to. However, I would like a bit more feedback. Some other supercars give you a bit more interaction through the pedals, and I think if you were doing track days consistently, certainly in the dry, it's that level of driver interaction that maybe the R8 lacks a little bit in comparison to some other cars. The chassis definitely has a seriousness to it. Its body control is excellent. The grip levels are really strong throughout. But whenever you do want to start having a play, I mean, it's quite a high threshold to start breaking traction in this car. The initial feeling is of understeer as you go into a corner, but then the front end starts biting and it pulls you through in a really lovely, predictable fashion. And part of that composure comes down to new anti-roll bars that have been fitted to the facelifted car. This car is defined by two things beginning with T. One is torque at 580 Newton meters, and the other is traction that allows you to deploy the performance at such an alarmingly rapid rate. Now, as has been proven time and time again, the R8 package is perfectly capable of being lived with on a daily basis. You've got this lovely, high quality, leather upholstered cabin with some nice carbon fibre trinkets about here, and the Audi virtual cockpit, which I like a lot. Now, I know this might sound like a criticism, but it's really not intended to be. But just pottering around, particularly on public roads, it feels like a big Audi TT, and that's really not a bad thing. That's to say that the quality is high in here, the refinement levels are good enough to live with, and you know what? Supercars used to be really bad to see out of. Visibility is great in this car. But is it thrilling? Does it give you that fizz that supercars should always possess? And I have to say, in these conditions that Audi have seemingly timed perfectly with the anniversary of Quattro all-wheel drive, I'd say so, because what other car can you exploit in conditions like this? I cannot overstate how greasy and slippery it is. We've been out in other vehicles today on this circuit, and they've just been all over the place. This is composed and focused and just so ready to deploy that performance. It's incredible. It's utterly breathtaking. I think in the dry, whether it has that same charisma as other supercars is definitely debatable. But then this car does have a big ace up its sleeve, doesn't it? And it's to do with those 10 cylinders. So, the Audi R8 Performance. It's certainly one of the safest pair of hands you can put yourself in whenever you've got 600 plus brake horsepower and conditions like this today. And that means most of these will keep themselves out of ditches, which is a good thing. But is it as exciting as something like a McLaren or any other of the supercar stablemates? Well, arguably no, but then not many of them have the crown jewel of this car, which is a naturally aspirated V10, such a rarefied breed in today's world. And for me, that's all the theatre this car needs. You buy this car for the engine. Everything else is a bonus. Oh, hang on, didn't I leave some fruit in the... Oh, I see. Head to yesauto.com for the latest car news and reviews, and don't forget to check us out on social media. We're in all the usual places such as Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Simply search for Yes Auto.